Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Evolvepreneur Secrets Show for entrepreneurs, and I'm your host, Brian Silverthorne. And it's my mission to help entrepreneurs make a difference in their business and to navigate the messy worlds of startup, growth, and relaunch. And today, I'd ask you to join me where we're going to dig deep with our guest and get you the best concepts and strategies for self-published authors and their journeys from startup to success. And our special guest today is Roger Williams. And Roger, after 30 years in education and youth development, wrote a book, and he reordered his lifestyle in the process of writing that book. And the book is Live Out Your List: Finding Joy Through a Bucket List Lifestyle. Welcome to the show, Roger.
Brian, thank you so much for having me. This is going to be fun.
Good. Glad to have you. Where are you hanging out today?
In Seattle, Washington, USA.
Oh, okay. So we're both working from the West Coast, so not a whole lot of time difference today.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we get started? Why don't you give us a little bit about what your book's about and what's the reader that you want to reach?
Yeah. So there is, like you said, it's Live Out Your List: Finding Joy Through a Bucket List Lifestyle. And it's really a how-to guide or it's a how-to guide to create a bucket list lifestyle. And it's very I've been an educator in the past, and so it's very well ordered, I think, as far as teaching folks how to achieve a bucket list lifestyle. I start off with a mindset chapter where we talk about what a bucket list is and isn't, where it came from, those kind of things, and then go into how do you set an intention for your bucket list, which I think is super important and is something that isn't really out there in the space of just really saying, why am I doing this? What's the purpose of my bucket list? Which goes a great distance to help you set up the next couple of chapters, which is bucket list creation. If you know why you're doing something, it's easier to start putting things down on paper and saying, okay, this fits my intention or my mission statement or my vision statement, like you would have in a business. And then the last chapter is just about managing your bucket list and how do you cross things off? Where do you start? And what works best for you? So the real goal and intention for the book is for it to be anyone that's interested in this lifestyle or is engaged in this lifestyle and having hiccups in achieving what they want, is really just to say, here's some options for you. Here's some ways you can do this. And I offer, in each chapter, multiple set ways that you can, tips and tricks and strategies that you can engage in this lifestyle. And it's really a choose your own adventure type of application where you can, literally, I say, in the creation part, if there's nothing you want to buy, you're a minimalist, you're not interested in buying stuff, then skip this prompt, move on to the next one, challenge yourself. But you don't have to, there's no pre-required way a bucket list should look. It is your list. I say that often in the book, and it should reflect you, starting with that intention.
Excellent. Well, that sounds pretty comprehensive. You mentioned early on in the book to figure out your purpose with having a bucket list. So what was your purpose in writing the book?
Yeah, I didn't. So in 2021, I went on the Camino de Santiago in Spain. It's a 790-mile trek across northern Spain from Saint Jean Pied de Port to Santiago de Compostela in Spain. And when I got back, I had taken a bunch of selfies of all the people that I met. And really that was the intention for my going, was I wanted to create community. And so when I got back, a friend of mine at work who I'd worked with for about 4.5 years said, "How was your trip?" And I showed her this reel that I had made for Instagram of all these selfies. And she just looked at me when she was done watching it and said, "I've never seen you that happy." I was like, oh my gosh. It was great that she saw that she saw that I was a very happy person during that experience, but it was sad that she had never seen that over the 4.5 years that we had worked together. And so I decided that something had to give. I didn't want to be known like that, like she had known me. I wanted people to see the joy that I had in my life. So I quit my job and started an adult gap year. And my adult gap year was focused on crossing things off my bucket list. And one of the things on my bucket list was to write a book. But I didn't realize that this was the book that I was going to write. I started a couple of other books, went to Europe for 3 months, traveled around the world a little bit, and came back. And through that experience, I also have a podcast called Crossing Off Podcast, where I interview folks on their bucket list items that they've crossed off. And through all those experiences, it's like, okay, there's something here, and I have to write this down and get this out.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of, getting some third-party input like that gives you a
Mhm.
wake-up call is sometimes surprising, but it's always beneficial, I think.
Yeah, actually, on the Camino, I was walking with somebody who is a known artist, known author, and was telling him that I had writing a book on my bucket list. And he's like, "Oh, is it going to be about bucket list?" And I said, "No," because I didn't feel like I had any authority to really talk about it. But after this little gap year, it was like, okay, I have something to share.
Great, good, good. So, what was your biggest challenge when you got started on the book?
Oh, I had already started writing another book, so that I was very passionate about, and I'm still writing that book. So it was stopping that process and then of writing the first book and then switching to a new book. It was very easy for me to outline this book. My biggest issue, I think, ultimately was just setting aside the time. I can write about 1,000 words per hour, and that's, I don't know if that's slow or fast for other people, but I do what they tell you not to do when you write a book, is to edit as you go. And I just, from my college days, I found that that was easier for me, so I reverted back to that process. And so just coming up with the amount of time and setting aside that time to say, okay, I'm gonna write and 2,000 words today or 3,000 words today, and I'm gonna set goals so that I can get it done.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah, everybody's got their own style, but as long as you can do something that's comfortable for you and achieves the goals that you want to achieve, then that seems to be the right way to do it. So, do you use your book to generate business opportunities at all?
Yes, I have, like I said, I have the website that I offer mentoring services on. So I mentor folks through their bucket list, kind of like coaching, and then drive people to the podcast as well to promote the podcast.
Okay, great. So, well, how important would it be for you if your book reached the number one bestseller status?
Now, can you elaborate on your question? Because there's a lot of number one bestseller statuses. So let's
Well,
give
let's
me
say let's say Amazon number one bestseller in 10 different categories per country in 4 countries.
well, that would be semi huge. But the problem I have with the Amazon number one bestseller is that it's artificial. It's an artificial title. It's not done on sales. I read an article the other day where someone took a picture of their feet, put it into a PDF, uploaded it through KDP, and it went live, and told two friends to buy the book. He only put it for 25 cents, asked two friends to buy the book and give it a review. And within an hour or two after he published that book through KDP, it was an Amazon number one bestseller.
Hmm.
So if the system's rigged, I don't care. Right? I mean, if it's based on sales, fantastic, let's go. That's huge. And I want as many people as possible to read the book and to take on this lifestyle. That's what's really important for me. I tell that to people I'm promoting to all the time. It's like I'll promote the book, I'll promote the podcast, but what I'm really promoting is this lifestyle, because I really believe it can bring people joy that they can't normally find if they're not being intentional about it.
Okay. So, well, what methods of promotion are you using now? I know you have your podcast, but any other methods that are working for you, and which one's working best?
Yeah, it really boils down to I'm doing this all DIY. So everything from the book cover to the editing, everything's done DIY. So I don't have a lot of money to be putting out there. So for me, doing podcasts like this, and I've been on probably 45 podcasts since I've started this process, from starting the podcast to writing the book and publishing the book. And so I'm really trying to get into that top 3% of podcasts out there in the world, and get to those audiences. And usually I'm selling multiple copies when those shows drop.
Oh, good, good. So what's your next step as an author and or a podcaster?
Well, for author, it's just continuing to get out there and hustle. I mean, I like to say in my pitches, I'm the hardest working podcast guest, professional podcast guest that there is. I will promote everybody's show that I'm on. I will bring my A game to the podcast. I will switch and be flexible. I did a podcast for someone that was in the UK the other day, and so I had to remember that and switch all my references to being London based, and because I've had adventures in London. So just really, trying to tailor my story and what's going on with the book to the podcast and their listeners, because that's really what it is. When you're a guest, you're using somebody else's audience, and so you have to be able to be flexible, like I said, to do that in a way that benefits the host. And so I did a podcast here for somebody in Texas, and it's a 1% top podcast in the world, but his audience is very conservative, and very conservative. And so that's not me. So I don't think I compromised when I was on the show, but I definitely spent time, again, using different references, using different wordage. Like, the word intention is not big, seems woke sometimes to those folks. So I had to, as I talked about having an intention for your bucket list, I changed, and said, it's just like having a mission. I understand this is woke, or it could be considered woke, but it's just like having a mission statement for your business. Everybody has a mission statement for their business, their church, whatever it is. And I think the host really appreciated that I was willing to kind of serve his audience the best I could without it just being about me. And that was grateful. And I'm starting to get a lot more of those top 3, top 1. I've done a 0.5 podcast before that's top 0.5%. So I'm working my way there, but I'm pitching every day. Every
Okay.
day. Every week I send out probably 100 pitches, and I change the pitch. And, because it's just, I want to sell books, but again, I do want to promote this lifestyle.
Yeah, got it. Okay. So we're getting close to the end here. You got any final thoughts for budding bucket listers or budding authors or budding podcasters?
Yeah, I think no matter what it is that you're doing, be 100% authentic. I think it's the bottom line. It's hard. It's a hard row to travel. Trying to be 100% authentic in everything you do. Don't buy followers. Don't buy listeners. Don't buy reviews. Don't do any of that. And it's so tempting because it's so cheap these days, to just throw out $50 and get a bunch of downloads. But you will feel better about yourself if you're 100% organic with your audience. And it really is a testament to say, is this really a thing? Because you can buy all those likes and do all that stuff, but then is what you're doing really real and authentic? And I think that that's the bottom line, that at the end of the day, it's about your integrity and wanting to be true to the audience that you're trying to produce and cultivate, and the community that you're trying to cultivate. So being 100% authentic and organic is for me an absolute must, no matter what you're doing.
Yep, I agree. I think that's great advice in business and in life. So with that great advice, I think we'll end up this session. So that's a wrap on another great guest episode of the Evolvepreneur Secrets Show for entrepreneurs. And just before you go, if you liked it, please give us a 5-star review and share it with a couple of friends. If you want to make sure you don't miss out on any future podcasts or catch up on some old ones, go to evolvepreneursecrets.show. And if you're an entrepreneur and you got a great idea in your head, no time like the present to get it out there. Thanks.